Hey guys, Cindy Williams here from the Bliss to Abundance podcast. Today we are talking about how to make the world more accessible. If that sounds like fun, keep on watching. You're going to get to meet a very special guest here in just a second. So excited about today's topic. Welcome to Bliss to Abundance, the podcast for growth-minded travel entrepreneurs. All right, guys, without further ado, I would like to introduce my good friend, my client, my amazing colleague in the industry, Jamie Santillo from Adventures by Jamie. How are you this morning?
I am wonderful, Cindy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited. And first, I would love to just introduce you to the world. You are a CEO of a mega agency that is doing amazing things in the world. And you also are pretty much a personal brand at this point, the face of making travel more accessible. So I couldn't be more excited to have you on the show. But can you share with everybody a little bit about your background and your personal story and kind of how you got to where you are today?
Absolutely. I've always loved travel, but travel for me looks very, very different. I was born with muscular dystrophy, so I utilize a power wheelchair to navigate the world. And, for travel, that's sometimes very difficult, but it never stopped me from doing all the things that I've wanted to do. I've gone zip lining and indoor skydiving. I've been up in a hot air balloon, cruises, international travel. Just nothing. Nothing was going to stand in my way for sure. And when I looked into really wanting to turn that passion for travel into a career, I wanted to service the world, which obviously includes people like myself. And so Adventures by Jamie was born in 2017. And, it's just been my mission to help everyone that, wants to check off those bucket list items to do so, whether they have a disability or not.
Absolutely. And I'm laughing because you do stuff I would never do. I will not be caught dead, jumping through the jungle on a zip line. You know what I mean? And here's Jamie just fly. I love. By the way, go follow Jamie everywhere. Like her YouTube, her Instagram, her stuff is so cool to watch. And also, I learned so much as an agency owner, and I've learned so much from you about how to help make the world more accessible. And that's why I wanted to do this live stream today. We have so many travel agents and travel advisors that listen to the podcast. And sometimes when you get that first call to help or assist someone that needs that extra help or assistance or modification to make the world more accessible, you want to make sure you do everything perfect. So I would love to first get your advice for, travel agents in how should they be having the conversation with their clients on how to best support a client that has an accessible need or has a disability or has some type of modification that they require to make sure that their trip is the perfect trip that they're dreaming of. How would you coach a newer travel agent to kind of have that consult or conversation?
My best advice would be to be comfortable having the not so comfortable conversations with your client when you are doing that intake process of what they're looking for their trip. So when you find out that your client has some sort of special need, you have to ask those hard questions. Typically when we're booking and travel, we're not asking somebody, and how do you use the restroom?
Right.
But for
Yep.
somebody with a disability, especially a mobility challenge, that's very, very important. Do they need a Hoyer lift? Do they need a roll-in shower? Or do they even use a catheter? Like what is their daily life like? And for a lot of people, especially in the beginning, that might not be very comfortable, but it is going to ensure that you have met all the needs for your client.
Yeah, absolutely. And I loved what you said. Jamie also, if you don't know, educates inside I run Careers on Vacation, which is essentially a travel school for travel entrepreneurs growing their businesses. Jamie comes in and she teaches on accessibility. We have a workshop that she does every quarter for us, which is amazing. One of the things that you said in the workshop really hit home for me is, and you said, it's really about making sure people are comfortable. Like it's a simple, like, well, how, what do they need to sleep comfortably, to go to the restroom comfortably, to navigate the resort comfortably. And I was like, that really at its core is like, it's such a human and basic need, and like something you don't have to ask the average client, to your point. But as the world expands, we are getting more and more requests. So you better be ready to support people at all different, with all different types of needs, right? So talk to me a little bit about those stats that we were kind of going over before the podcast today.
Right. So the stats that I have for you are 2019 through 2021. 2020 was kind of a wash with
Yeah.
travel. So 2019 through 21, we are looking at 27 million travelers that are considered in that disability community,
Mm-hmm.
and 58.7 billion dollars in travel spent by those individuals.
Yep.
So
That's
there's this community is traveling.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think, if you're going about your customer service and your operations in the right way, this is such a huge opportunity if you do it right to build out that recurring business model, because like you said, those conversations can be uncomfortable. You don't want to have them with a new travel agent every single time. How would you recommend, if for, especially for those newer agents who haven't had that discussion before, is there any type of like guidance you would give them after they have the initial conversation that we just discussed, but through the watching over process part, like we call it, kind of maintaining the vacation? Is there any other checklist items that they need to be checking with the resorts, with the travel suppliers, with the airlines? What are the types of things that are sometimes a new agent is prone to forget or not realize in that maintenance part of managing the vacation for their clients that might have special needs?
Sure, sure. I always like to, like triple check with
Mm,
all of the suppliers that were, involved in my client's booking, making sure everything on their checklist were met, so as soon as I do the booking, especially if I do it all online, I will then hop on the phone immediately with that supplier and say, okay, I've just booked this room, with these specific needs. I want to make sure that you've gotten that. Okay, yes, you did. Then maybe a week or so prior, I do the same thing. I want to make sure that we're all good. And then the day before, and it might seem like overkill, but
yeah.
I just want to ensure that, they have my client taken care of, and this situation that for some is already going to be stressful for
Hmm.
them, because there's a lot of moving parts to it
Yeah.
for their situation. I want to make sure it's as stress free as possible. So just make sure that you're in constant communication with whatever suppliers you're using.
Yep. And I think another thing that you really do in a exceptional way, because you and I have worked together for a while now, so I'm pretty familiar with the inner workings of your business. But when something doesn't go right on a vacation, talk to me about your process there, because I just think you do a great job with that.
Well, my first instinct is, of course, to hop on the phone with that supplier and see what is going on. I had a client that, unfortunately, the airlines are not very wheelchair accessible. If you are a power wheelchair user, you cannot stay in your wheelchair to fly, or a manual wheelchair for that matter.
Yeah.
And I had a client who took a flight, And when they got to their destination, their power wheelchair had been broken.
Oh.
And, they, that's their independence,
Mhm.
And so I started doing research in the area, found, now this kind of goes a little above and beyond for normal things that we would do. However,
Yeah.
I called wheelchair rental, places in the area
Mhm.
and was able to find them, a wheelchair that would work for them during their trip. So all wasn't lost,
Yeah.
but it's just doing whatever we can to make the things that have gone wrong right.
Yeah. And having those relationships with the suppliers, right? I think that's really key. And you've grown a great business with great, you guys do a great volume of business with Adventures by Jamie, and that's amazing. But even if you're brand new or newer, I really always encourage, and I think you do too, is start building those relationships. If you are really going to lean into doing a lot of accessible travel, or even if you do it once in a while, you still should be building those relationships with vendors. So I remember you had an issue with a hotel once, and you were able to kind of call the business development manager and go, look, here's what's going on, and they were able to make adjustments. But
Yeah,
those relationships, right, I think are important. And that's one of those things that if people are newer to the industry, they don't realize the value of that until they're in a situation that's really difficult, right?
absolutely. And there are suppliers out there that are specific to accessible travel.
Yep.
One of my
Yep.
favorite suppliers is Wheel the World, and they have amazing itinerary, like pre-built itineraries, but also will help you build, itineraries from ground up, that have everything, medical equipment, the accessible rooms, all of the things. They just really help our agency to make planning that much easier for our
Yeah.
special needs community.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Guys, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsor of the day, which is Wanderlust Social. Wanderlust Social is where you can get all of your travel agent, travel advisor marketing done for you, but customizable to your brand. You can visit them at wanderlust-social.com. So check that out. I know Jamie's a big user of Wanderlust Social. It's so good, right? Um,
It's so good.
so good. But tell everybody where they can follow you on they have to follow all of your adventures. Where can everybody follow you on social media?
Yes, I'd love for you all to come along for the ride. And it is Adventures by Jamie, Jamie, is how I spell Jamie, on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and then adventuresbyjamie.com.
And Jamie's YouTube is blowing up, you guys. She's doing so many cool things over on YouTube. I love watching all of your shows. So guys, definitely check that out. And listen, if you're newer in the industry, I just want to encourage you. Listen to what Jamie shared with you today, and the whole goal is to get people to travel and making the world accessible for everyone. Make sure you're doing the work as a professional and as an advisor to make everyone feel comfortable and taken care of. And hopefully, this podcast brought you some great information today. So, thank you so much for watching. We will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.